Okay. All right. I just want to pause it. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to How to Be a Labor and Literacy Library. I'm Sarah Antonelli. We met at the last session, and I'm the program assistant for the Labor and Literacy Library program. Today, those joining will learn more about how to be a labor and literacy library. We'll ask that all questions, again, be placed in chat. And if we can't get to them all, we'll create a list of FAQs and circulate those questions and answers to participants, then post them in Canvas. And you'll learn more about Canvas a little bit later on into this session. As Kristin just mentioned, please be sure that the name in your box shows your name and your library. In this way, we can help keep track of attendance. And again, there are 3 little dots in the box, and if you click on there, you'll be able to rename yourself. We will be recording the session, and there'll also be repeat sessions of this workshop. Remember that there are all of the workshops listed in the calendar, which are on the Central New Jersey State website. They'll also be in Canvas when you get access to that. And there are registration links to each of the workshops that you'll need to register for. I would now like to introduce Kristin Broggi. You will also remember Kristin from the last session. She's an instructor and program coordinator for the Labor and Literacy Library program. Kristin, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. I just want to say to everybody, welcome back. It's good to sort of see you. Since this is a much smaller event than last time, I want you all to feel free to turn on your cameras. Maybe we'll start to see each other in person, get to know each other, although I do understand not everybody was prepared for that, so it's all good. During today's session, we are going to go over 2 pretty much separate but also related topics. We're going to start out by talking about how to help you decide what it is you should be doing next. What services do you want to offer? Figure out what services you're going to be able to offer. You're not going to walk away from today with a plan, but I'm going to give you information on how to start figuring out that plan. And then we're always here to support you all as we move forward in terms of you all making plans. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at where you're going to find the workshops and some more information about the workshops that are available. And if any of you have looked at the workshop descriptions that were on the Labor and Literacy website through New Jersey State Library, I did make some updates to those descriptions, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. But if you've seen them before, you may want to go in and look at them again, especially if you're printing them out, because it's going to give you just some extra information to help you out with all of your decision making. And then from there, we're going to take a look at something called Canvas. And anybody who is already registered as a Labor and Literacy Library has received a link to Canvas. And Canvas, while it is a learning management tool, we're going to use it as a way to share files and share interactions with all of you. And I will walk you through logging in and showing you where to find everything as well. If you were at our kickoff meeting, whether you attended it or watched the video of it or the recording of it, you've seen the mission statement already. And I just want to put it out as a reminder that our goal is to help you all increase the services you are offering regarding digital literacy skills, and job search assistance. This is not, though, a one-size-fits-all program. Think of it more like a choose-your-own-adventure book. You know, this is a choose-your-own adventure program. We're going to call it an adventure, at least for today. So where to start? How do you get started? What should you be doing to get this all figured out? Hopefully you've all completed your registration form. You can go on to the Labor and Literacy Library website, which is on your screen right now, and we'll probably share it a couple of times and you'll have access to it later on as well. And there is a section under how can my library become a Labor and Literacy Library, and you can register from there. I think Sarah might be sharing a direct link to that as well. I maybe had too much coffee, so I'm just going to slow down now. Okay, so once you register as a labor and literacy library, we will then be able to help you focus on how to decide what to do next. We provide you all with a toolbox filled with programs, workshops, all kinds of tools, but it's really up to your library to decide what tools you're going to take advantage of based on your needs, as well as your building and your staff and everything. So you all still get to choose your own adventure. Before you decide what it is that you want to do at your library, it's probably helpful for you to know what we're going to offer to you. What are the different workshops that we will run for you all to help you expand services? So I'm going to real quick give you an overview of that. The workshops fall into essentially 4 categories. The first category, some of our sessions are going to cover, really are thought of as administrative tools. They're designed to make it easier for you to expand your services and to track what you're doing. And we'll talk about them in a little bit more detail and which ones are suggested for what it is you're trying to do. And then the next category, I refer to it as foundations training. These are going to be really important for pretty much any library, but specifically if you haven't done a lot of programming or maybe one-on-one work with people or even small group work. So these foundations training workshops are created to help your library staff, you or your library staff, learn a bit more about providing effective and original and organized and engaging labor and literacy library programming. The third group of sessions is called North Star. If you haven't heard of North Star yet, we did talk about it a little bit in the last session, but North Star is an online self-directed digital literacy training program that also includes sections on, oh my goodness, when you take a test, it's called assessment. North Star also does provide you with assessments that your patrons can use, as well as in-person training curriculum if you choose to go that route. So the North Star sessions, and you wouldn't even need to take all of them unless you have a lot you want to do in your library, are simply going to train you on using North Star in your library. And then the last workshops that we're going to provide are called workshops in a box. And they're prepackaged programs that you're going to be able to use in your library to allow you or your staff to run in-person workshops, whether they're small one-on-one or 2 people or a big classroom full. You'll be able to utilize those tools. And I'm just showing you right now the list of all of those workshops that we'll be running so that you can see what they are. Keep in mind that just because we're offering all of these workshops doesn't mean you have to. Yeah, we're going to be really busy with this, but you're busy with so many other things that you're going to have to narrow down what it is you can handle doing at this point in time. And remember, you get to decide what you want to take advantage of. And I showed the other 3 categories. This one is called Workshops in a Box, and those are the different workshops we're going to run. These information on all of these workshops, all 4 categories, are on the Labor and Literacy Library website. There's a link down here. There is a list of workshop descriptions. The calendars are over here as well. So you'll be able to find all of that information, and I will show you other places that you could possibly find it as well. All right, here's the big question. With all of these options, what do I do? How am I going to make the decision, or how are you going to make the decision on what it is that you are going to be able to handle in your library? So before we review the suggestions, for what you need to think about and look at. I want you to know that I've created a file called Planning to be a Labor and Literacy Library Workshop. And I believe Sarah is posting it into the chat right now. You're not going to fill this out right now, but I wanted you to be able to see it at least while we were talking, get some ideas, maybe take notes, whatever it is you need to do. So the file is in chat. Later on, I'm going to show you where to get to it in Canvas as well. So this file or this worksheet is designed to just get you started thinking what you need to do or what you're going to be able to do. So to start, what I really think you should do is look for your gaps in service. What is it that you're not providing? And how do you know where your gaps in service are? This is a small group, so I'm going to ask people to just go ahead and unmute and come up, share some ideas about where you might find, or how do you figure out gaps in service in your library? I saw Louis, you unmuted?
Yes, surveys.
Oh, great answer. Create some surveys that you're going to ask your patrons. I would sort of think through the people part of it that we're going to talk about later and think through the building part of it that we're going to talk about later to start to determine of the training we're providing you, what would be something you could possibly be able to do. You don't want to create a survey that offers people the sun and the moon when you actually can only offer like daytime, like just that one thing. So go through all of this first. Surveys are great. I think Rosie, you had your hand up for a sec.
Yeah, sorry, I'm hitting my mute button a few more times than I needed to. I think that tracking the questions that we get at our service desks, and that's how we isolated the fact that we really need some kind of HSE or GED support, but just asking frontline staff to start to track that and bring that stuff back to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great answer. Any other ideas? All right, well, some of the things, oh, please do, absolutely.
Yeah, and the other thing that might be helpful is to figure out the audiences. You know, like I'm near a senior community. They probably need a lot of help. I'm not sure if I could help them, you know, the way we are, but you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you're gonna think about not only what your patrons need, but who your patrons are. You know, some libraries have a lot of people coming in for job search. That's a huge question at our ref desk. Job search, how do I fill out a form online? Everything is done online. I just lost my job and I need to fill out paperwork to get unemployment. But it's not paperwork anymore, it's online. So folks that are in that boat need job search support. They maybe need support creating a resume. They maybe need support just using a computer enough to fill out information. Maybe they also need information on how to search the web. So that's a great, great example. I'm looking at my list to think, all right, did we cover them all? Those of you who have public computers and maybe have somebody who monitors them, if somebody's monitoring them, keep an eye on what people are looking for. Maybe they're Googling how to write their resume, or, you know, how do I, you know, and I can't even think of examples right now, but these are all really good ways to look at and think about what it is that your patrons need to be able to be more successful in the world. So that's how you're going to start to identify the gaps.
I think I raised my, sorry, I'm just now messing with the icons. I thought of two other things.
Oh, great.
Asking community partners where they're, oh, sorry, I just raised, how the library could support the initiatives that they're putting out into the community. I think about computer usage. A lot of the workforce development organizations don't necessarily have computers, or they don't have them available as much as the library has them available. And also something that I'm interested to see how it changes the way we the sort of the way we see the needs of our community. We recently started a one-on-one appointments service, and there's an online form where people can choose what they need to work on. And there is an option, there's multiple options, but they can describe things in more detail. So it'll be cool to track the kinds of requests people are asking for those individualized appointments.
That's also great. One, that you've started something new, but also that you're going to be able to use that to determine services, to determine programming. And your workforce development board, those different community partners are great. Depending on your community, maybe you want to reach out to like the senior center, if you have a senior center in your community, and see what they're needing. And is it feasible for seniors to come over to the library? Maybe they can offer the bus service. I know my town, even though it's little, has a bus that goes to the library and to the grocery store and all of those. Maybe we could add that to the route. So those are great ideas. Thank you.
Kristin, Lewis also wanted to mention something about Google career certificates.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. I was going to do it at the end, but I can do it now. So anyway, we're a Grow with Google partner, and they just recently, they've been doing this for a while, but I recently contacted them. Google offers 5 certificates, IT related ones like project management, UX design, digital marketing, IT support, data analytics. They're completely online through Coursera. They're all self-paced, and they normally you would pay like $39 a month to use the Coursera platform to take the certificates, but they give you 5. I have now about 490 scholarships. There's a little too much for a little small library like mine. But if you know of people who might be interested in this, all they need to do is send me an email with their name. I know their name, and then I'll send them an invite. So,
What a great offer. That is such a great offer, Lise. Thank you. I apologize. Lewis or Luis?
Luis is fine. Thank you.
Luis. Okay. I just wanted to be sure I was getting it right.
That's right. Thank you.
In addition to the Google certificates, just sharing more information, LinkedIn has programming that people can take instructional workshops through LinkedIn as well. So these are some things that you can start with once you run through the program, the instruction, etc. You can start sharing those with your libraries right away. So those are great things that you're all sharing as well. Anybody else before we move on? All right, and later in today, we're going to talk about something called Canvas. And one of the things that we're going to use Canvas for is discussion boards. And right now we have nothing set up in there because we're not really sure what you all want to talk about, but free training for my patrons might be a discussion that we're going to set up and that you all can add things to, that you can follow that discussion as well. So thank you all for talking enough that I just decided that we needed to do that. All righty. So you're going to ask yourself some questions about identifying gaps. So some of it you're going to figure out from what we were just talking about, whether it's surveys or what patrons are asking at the ref desk, or any of those different ways. But you also want to just ask yourself a couple other questions. Then I don't want you to think, when you're asking these questions, I don't want you to think about how will I be able to do this? I just want you to think, do we do this now? Just to give yourself an idea of first, what sort of gaps that you think you have. So you're going to ask yourself, does my library provide any sort of digital literacy support or training? And it could be as simple as, we have public computers and we have somebody who offers support to the patrons using it. I want you to think about what sort of digital literacy support or training you offer. Do you have a way to help folks get job search skills? Are you maybe offering a program to help people with standardized testing, or even an HSC or a GED program. That's not something that we're gonna be able to help you out with right now. Although, Rosie, when you were talking about it, you have to pay for it, but there's a program called Aztec, and I don't know if you've used Aztec before, but it is an online program that assesses a patron's needs, and then they start taking classes through their computer on the different skills they'll need to pass or to get their HSC. And for those of you who don't know, HSC is high school equivalent. It is really the name of what GED is right now, but people still use GED, so we always kind of refer to it as that. Once you've figured out where are your gaps, what do I have, what don't I have, what do I want to start doing, the next thing is to look at the resources that you do have. And you want to identify your resources really to help you narrow down. I have all these gaps. I cannot do it all, at least not right away. What could I possibly do right now? And again, think about the answers to the questions of what you have in your building, what you have in terms of staff time, or possibly could you find a volunteer? Just think about all that information and start keeping track of it to see what you might be able to handle again in your building. So start asking, well, okay, what technology do you have in the library? I mean, my library, because we've been needing and running these programs for so long, we actually have a couple computer labs that are set up as classrooms that we can offer training in. Most libraries don't have that kind of resource, but do you have a couple laptops? Is there a meeting room or a small study space where you can put 2 laptops or 3 laptops maybe, so that a couple people could work together? You might have a meeting room, but you don't have laptops. There are some of the programs that we are teaching for you all that don't require technology. Do you have public computers where your patrons can do a self-directed program such as Aztec that I just mentioned? Again, remember that that's something you would all have to pay for. Or North Star, which is a digital literacy program that you can get through the state library. So you want to think about all the different technology you have in your library and start noting that down. You're also going to need to think about your building space. And I sort of put those two together when I was talking through this. You know, do you have a study room or a lab or even a meeting room? Or do you just have public computers that can be used? So you're going to think about your building space. You're going to think about your technology. You also need to think about your staff. If you're going to be offering programming that is not self-directed, you will need someone to facilitate the program or the programs that you want to offer. So there's a couple of things to consider here. Who on your staff is best suited to run a program like this? Think about who on your staff maybe has a couple hours or an hour a week even to devote to learning a program and to devote to facilitating for others. And don't worry if these aren't the same people. Start thinking about, well, could I adjust some responsibilities so that I can make it the same person that is suitable to facilitate also has a little bit of time to facilitate. Do you have volunteers that are trusted in your library that have come in consistently and helped with something, and maybe they are suitable to run a program for you? I do not have any problem training your volunteers. Having them come to any of these workshops is absolutely fine. And then maybe you do have somebody that you think is suitable, but they haven't done any sort of facilitation before, or they just maybe need a little bit of training on running a workshop or being a tutor. They need somebody to hold their hand for a little while. we have all of those different workshops, and we're going to be able to help you out with that. So as I said, we've got a workshop for that. For most of you though, you're not going to be able to just sit down right now and enroll in workshops. It's going to take some time, some thought, conversations, brainstorming. You're going to want to start by looking at that planning worksheet that we provided. I also want you to look at all the different workshop descriptions. In those descriptions, again, for those of you who've seen them, sorry, that was my brain going, oh, I didn't have Andrea update the descriptions on the website yet. When we have those descriptions updated on the website, you can go to the website because the descriptions will include the technology that is required, what it's going to give you, your people and your building and your technology sort of requirements for that. Those workshops updated are available also in Canvas right now, so I'll show them to you later on. Once you've started looking at all of this, please reach out for help. You know, this is what we're here for. We're here to help you out. We have office hours that we are going to start running this week, and they'll be every other Thursday at noon, which I know that not everybody's schedule works for all of that. And if it seems like we're missing a lot of people, maybe we'll make adjustments of the time that we're going to run our office hours. Come to office hours, ask us questions, use the Canvas discussion boards, talk with other libraries so that you get a good plan that you're confident you can start creating or start running. I do want to point out that if you are looking at the calendar of workshops and you see, oh, I want to take this North Star workshop at the end of February, and I don't know that that's really when it is, but you're not available that day. All of our workshops are going to be provided multiple times. So if there's one in February, there may be one in March or April of the same workshop. So you'll always be able to get into a different workshop. We also do record our workshops so you can view them as well if you just want to watch it that way versus come in person. So, and again, we'll look at enrolling in workshops later on, although all of you enrolled in this workshop, which is great, which means you will also be able to know how to enroll in other workshops already. And I want to make sure that you don't forget the workshops that I always think of as support sessions, the administrative workshops, the foundations workshops. You could have the greatest program in the world, but nobody will come to it if they don't know about it. So we're going to go over marketing with you all. For some of you, this may be old hat. You might want to come as an expert and help us out. But if not, we're going to talk about different marketing ideas and tools that we're going to provide to you that you can edit. We'll talk about record keeping in another workshop. We've got workshops on how to run workshops, on how to be a tutor. So you just want to look at all of the different programs that are available so that you know what it is you want folks to come to. Before I move on from this planning, what kinds of questions do you have about how am I going to figure it out, the workshops that we're offering, anything else we've talked about so far today? It's a quiet group. I'm thinking that's a good thing. Who, and maybe just raise your hand or use one of the emojis to put up an icon, who feels like they're going to be able to start working towards a plan? I got a thumbs up, couple of them. All right, is anybody still terrified? Do you like how I ask questions? I have a chance to drink coffee. All right. And again, if you've still got questions and you're not ready to ask them in front of a big group, drop us an email. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. So Canvas, Now that we've talked about figuring out your program, where are you going to be able to go to get the different tools, the different files, all of the different things that we're going to talk about and that you're going to be able to utilize in the future? And that's this program called Canvas. I don't know, has anybody ever heard of Canvas or used Canvas before? I got a thumbs up from Rosie. So my first experience with Canvas was during the pandemic when every school everywhere was starting to use it. And so it is used actually as a learning management system, and it allows you to not only share files and message boards, which is what we're going to use it for, but I could create assignments and grade those assignments and put you into groups to work together, and all of the things that had to happen virtually and still continue in a lot of schools to happen virtually, where at least group work and things like that, and finding assignments because you didn't take the worksheet when you left school or whatever, are all in Canvas. Now, I promise, at least for right now, I'm not going to give you any assignments. We're really only going to be using it for file sharing and for message boards. Those of you who completed the labor and literacy registration form should have received a link to get into Canvas. It was sent yesterday evening. And I saw a couple of you already joined that Canvas course, and we're going to talk through it and make sure that folks who have gotten the link have also been able, or are also able to get into Canvas. If you're still on the fence, once you make your decision, complete that registration form. At that point, you will receive the access to Canvas as well. But I'm going to show it to you on screen right now. You're welcome to open Canvas on your computer as well if you'd like to, but there's not a lot you need to know how to do in it. So there is a lot you're going to ignore while you're in Canvas. We're going to talk about how to get into Canvas, how to find the materials that we keep promising you are in a place for you to get to. So how do I find the workshop descriptions? How do I find this worksheet? When we run marketing, how do I find the marketing tools? How do I find the workshops in a box when they're run as well? So we'll look at finding that, how to open the file, download the file, and we will start talking about using the discussion boards as well. So those of you who got a link in Canvas, it came from Labor and Literacy Libraries. If you have already opened that link to go into Canvas, do not bookmark the link that's in the email. That link is simply to get you into our Labor and Literacy Library course that's in Canvas. When you go into it, it's going to ask you if you have an account, it'll ask you to log in. And if you don't have an account, you're going to have to set up a Canvas account. And I am going to show you what that screen looks like. So if you have a login, you're going to put in your login information. If you need an account, you'll click Need a Canvas account. If you are setting up your Canvas account, you will need to, hold on, please. You will need to click the button up at the top right. And then when you're creating the account, you also want to make sure you tell Canvas, I'm a student in this class. Again, it's just makes it easier for us to share files with you all. And then let's go back to Canvas. I'm going to do this kind of like in real life, just to make it easier for you to see. The slides from this presentation will be PDF'd. And maybe we will email them to folks for this time. Eventually, we're going to post them in Canvas. But that way, if we email them to you, you can find out how to do all of this. So once you're logged in, first Canvas will ask you to join the class. And so you'll get a prompt that asks you to join the class. And then once you've joined it, you're going to see this Labor and Literacy Library course in Canvas. So this is my Canvas dashboard. This link, canvas.instructure.com, that's the link that you would bookmark. That's bookmarking the login screen for Canvas that will then bring you into your dashboard, and you'll be able to see what courses you have available. I am registered in a couple different courses. So I see my labor and literacy library program one, I see a computing fundamentals class. So I get to see multiple ones. Unless you've used Canvas before with the login that you've created, you're only going to see the labor and literacy library. So this left menu gives you access to all kinds of things that you really don't need to worry about. You are going to use your dashboard, and then possibly you're going to use your account information because you can change notifications and different settings, etc. And then I love this Canvas menu because it just brings me back to my dashboard as well. You're going to see to-dos and feedback and all of that at the right. Just ignore it. You don't need to use those. So you get into Canvas, you go into your dashboard, and then you're going to open up the labor and literacy library. It's called a course. And then once you click into that course, what you'll see in Canvas are called modules. And I like to click the collapse all at the top because it just shows me all the different modules. There's a couple in here that don't have information yet. Don't worry about it. Canvas is going to grow. The more services we share with you, the more information you're going to have access to in Canvas. So you open a module by just clicking on it. The calendars are in here. The workshop descriptions can be opened or downloaded from here as well. The How to Be a Labor and Literacy library materials are in here as well. So that worksheet that we talked about earlier, if you want a clean copy, you already played with one, but now you want to just write some neater notes on it, you would open, and this is true for anything you want to get out of Canvas to utilize. Once you find the module it's in, you're going to click on the item. When you click on it, it shows it to you on screen because, and it's a little slow because I have Zoom open with all, it's fun stuff. So once we find it, I could just look at it in Canvas by scrolling through it, or below the title of any file that you might need to use, you're going to be able to download that file. When I click download, my computer and web browser is set up, so the file is going to show at the bottom left corner of my screen. I also know that I can go into my downloads folder, and in my downloads folder, I have that same file downloaded now. So I can open it from my Explorer. I can also just open it from the bottom of the screen. Oops, I already had it open. And then I could go ahead and just print out however I need to use it. So again, I'm just going to run through those steps real quick. Before I do that though, some websites have these great breadcrumbs that say, oh, you started here and then you went here and then you went here. Canvas doesn't really use the breadcrumbs the way you would expect them. So when I want to see the modules again, I click on home. Because if I start using the breadcrumbs at the top, it's going to bring me back to a whole different place. So I go back to the home. Again, I click the module name to expand it or collapse it. I click on the file, and now the file is going to open up for me. And then I can download that file if it's something I want to use. Questions so far?
Question, Kristin. Luis was wondering, he has already a Canvas account. Does he need to create a separate account for this, or can he use the current?
You can use your current account. You just might see, hold please, in your dashboard, and your dashboard again is where you get to all of your courses. So you might see multiple courses in here. I actually cleaned up my dashboard for you because I had like 12 courses that I use when I'm teaching to show people what's in the course. So I just cleaned mine up so I saw two, but Luis, you can absolutely use the same account if you want. Any other questions? All right, again, I am going to PDF this so you can see it, and it's going to show you how to get to your dashboard with all of your classes or your courses in it. This is the one you want to bookmark. So I have a little circle around the bookmark. It's the canvas.instructure.com. And then how am I going to find what I need? So it shows you, you're going to go to home for your modules. You click on the module, you click on the file, and then we're going to move into discussion boards. Who has any ideas what we're going to use our discussion boards for? Come on, friends, you could talk to me. Discussions, anything that you want to share with the group of labor and literacy libraries, you can post in a discussion board. Any questions that you think, oh, I wonder if somebody else has run into this and how did they handle it? Yes, you can always reach out to us. I'll be honest, I have a very specific background in providing services at a library, and it is at my library. Not everything that I do or know how to do will be applicable to your library. So sometimes it's better to get advice from everyone. So the discussion boards are going to be a great place just to communicate with each other in an easy way, and then be able to track replies and always go back and look at those replies and discussions as well. So to get to a discussion board, I'm going to open up my labor and literacy library course. From there, instead of looking at the modules, which are in the home group, I'm going to go ahead and click on discussions. And the first discussion that you're going to see in here, I have it set up so that you can't add information or reply to it. The reason it's the first time that you click on anything in Canvas, it's a little bit slow for you. And since I'm using my student account, I haven't gone into any of this as a student. So I've got my discussion board. The first discussion will always be up at the top. It is the informational on how to use discussion boards, where to go, what to do, how to reply, etc. And then I'm going to go back to the discussions. And you're going to see that you can always add a discussion. So let's say I wanted to add a discussion on, and we were talking about it earlier, free resources. I can never talk and type. Resources for libraries. And then can anyone, and I'll edit later on what I've typed, but you're going to put in a title. You're going to put in your information. You can format it if you'd like to. You can add a file if you need to. So there's all kinds of information. You can set a date for when it's available. I'm just going to click save. When I click save, if I go back to my discussions, now I'm seeing the discussion about free resources. So you go into Canvas, you go into discussions. If I want to reply to a discussion, and this gets a little confusing for people, but when you click reply, you're going to type in your answer and you're going to post your reply. And then we can have all kinds of conversations about it. The other thing I do want to point out about discussions, because I created this discussion, I've subscribed to it. Based on that, I'm going to get emails to whatever email address I used for my account, letting me know if people answer this discussion. Some of the discussions that I haven't created, I might decide I want to subscribe to, and all you do is click the button to subscribe or unsubscribe. I want to subscribe to it because I want to know when people put answers in there. So that truly is what you need to know about Canvas. Any questions so far? All righty. So we took a look at the discussion boards. Oh, and look at that. I forgot to mention, you can search discussion board as well. So across the top, there was a search field. I didn't use it because there's pretty much nothing in there, but I could search free and any of the discussions that have the word free will show up. I can search discussions and any of the discussions that Luis has authored. I can look at that as well. And I'm just using you as an example because you had some good insight into tools that folks could use.
Can I just offer an editorial comment?
Yeah.
You don't want to listen to my discussions.
We do or don't.
Don't. I'm just joking. Silly.
Okay. But we should take them with a grain of salt and expect a little sarcasm. Is that what you're telling us?
Definitely.
Fabulous. It's important to know that. I'm super sarcastic. I try not to be with training groups, though. I don't always succeed. All right. So if you have questions about Canvas, about filling out your form to start planning your programming, about how to offer programming, about the different types of technology, please reach out to us. So you can always send us an email. I recommend an email versus calling because I actually don't have a phone number at the library. So, and all of the folks who actually work on this program work part-time, slightly different schedules. So sending an email is going to go out to all of us. We will respond as soon as possible. You can always come to our open office hours, which sometimes you'll see abbreviated as OOH, because, ooh, they're so exciting. You're always welcome to come to our office hours. They are in the calendars that you can then register or enroll in those sessions. The first one is this Thursday at noon. We'll go over some of the frequently asked questions that came up from the original Why Be a Labor and Literacy library session, as well as questions that came from here. We're also going to see if you have questions about services. We will definitely help you out with those. And I just want to point out that while some of the office hours are going to have very specific topics, some are truly going to be open. So this is another place similar to the discussion boards where you might be able to get some advice, get some questions answered, not just from us, but also from your fellow libraries. And you might just want to come and listen to office hours so that you don't miss any of the great ideas. Sarah tends to take notes at them, and then she will post the office hours notes in Canvas. And the first time we do that, we'll make sure that we send you information on where to find them. And again, you can always use the discussion board. Folks, that's everything that we needed to get started talking about in terms of how to be a labor and literacy library. What questions, what concerns, what do you need to know more about? All right.
Can I, Kristin, I offered a suggestion earlier, not today, earlier today, but earlier in the week, I think, or last week, whatever. Like, is it, and I don't know if this is an appropriate venue to bring it up, but is it possible to like have some way of recruiting volunteers, like on a, not just like in your community, but around your community, so you could call on those folks?
Are you asking if it's possible for us to recruit volunteers?
Yes.
So here's the thing. It's possible that we could change this program. Well, it's not really possible, but we would have to change this program to spend so much time doing recruitment through the state and then vetting the volunteers and all of that. So it's a great suggestion. And maybe talk to libraries in
my area,
communities right near you, and see if you can create a pool of volunteers. But unfortunately, based upon how this program was created, it's not something we're going to be able to help you with. And I do understand where you're coming from, and I understand the frustration about not being able to provide a lot of these services because of the size of your library, the size of your staff, et cetera. And unfortunately, again, it's not how the Labor and Literacy Library program was created. It was truly created to provide you the tools for you to expand services. And definitely want to keep hearing your feedback, Luis. And I know you're in touch with other small libraries.
Can I offer another suggestion then? No, I understand where you're coming from, and it makes a lot of sense. Like you mentioned vetting people. That would be something that might, like, I don't know, like what you were thinking of, but you know, like if I had a way of a tool that helped me vet people, or I could ask them to take digital literacy North Star, but you know, something that I could kind of like say, okay, is this person
Set of
good or not?
interview questions.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
That sounds a little bit more doable than us running it for you. So let me see what I can do with that. I probably have a couple people at our library we could talk to in terms of how do you make sure your volunteers will actually be able to do what you want. So I'll see what I can come up with for that. Definitely won't be until next year.
No, I understand that.
No, but that's a great idea. Thank you for that. I also did want to point out that all of the concerns that have been raised have gone up through the state library. So even though we can't solve that problem for you, we've got folks at the state library who are hearing about it and then talking to other people who run other programs, because we don't know what else is going on. I don't know what else is going on at that level. So Andrea, who was on the meeting the first time, has been collecting all of that feedback to see what else is going on, because maybe we'll be able to find something and say, this is going to work better for you. I know that's a little frustrating, but we're hearing you.
Okay, no, thank you for that. And I wasn't saying you weren't. I just I just like to throw out ideas and see, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Other questions or comments or anything from anybody? All righty. I just thank you all for your time. We had a few minutes back in our day. Hopefully we'll see you at office hours on Thursday at noon. In January, we'll be repeating why to be a labor and literacy library, how to be a labor and literacy library. We're also providing 2 new workshops. One is on marketing and advertising. That's on January 11th at 10. And then there's a tutor skills session on January 8th at 2. And I don't know, is it the 8th or maybe it's the 18th? I'm trying to figure out, Sarah, I'm looking at you over here. I'm trying to figure out why I had the dates a little weird. Oh my goodness, it says the 18th on my note, and just, I was sitting too far away from the paper to read it. Right.
Tutor session is the 18th.
Thank you.
And marketing and advertising is on the 11th. A repeat of YB Labor Literacy Lab is on the 10th. And then of course we have open office hours on the 5th and the 19th, sorry.
Thank you, Sarah.
And also a repeat of this session on January 26th. So those registration links are in the calendars that are on the central website and also will be in Canvas.
Can I ask a group question? I try not to be sarcastic. I just try to be silly. So this is a silly question. We all work in the tallest building in our communities. Do you know why?
Why?
Our libraries have the most stories.
Love it. I expect a joke at the end of every session now. Sorry.
Yeah,
You're in trouble now.
Under pressure. Okay.
All righty. Again, thank you all for your time. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording, and the session's going to end. If somebody needs to stick around and ask anything, you are more than welcome to.
Bye.